Don't let false allegations bully you into an unfair fight. Hi, I'm Sal, and I will do the fighting for you. No charge is too big for me. Legal forces have you cornered, better call Sal. I'll get your case dismissed. I'll give you the defense you deserve. Why? Because I'm Sal, attorney at law. I investigate, advocate, persuade, and most importantly, win. Better call Sal. Do you feel doomed? Have opponents of freedom wrongly intimidated you? I'm Sal, and I'm here to tell you that they're wrong. It's never too late for justice. Better call Sal. Hello there guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Sal speaking. Today I'm going to talk about prehistoric weapons. According to Dr. Kelly, anthropologist and ethnographer, the earliest hunter-gatherer societies of Homo erectus population density was low enough to avoid armed conflict. The development of the throwing spear was adopted to avoid competition for resources. Wooden spears have been used for hunting for at least 400,000 years. Dr. Stanford, professor at the University of Southern California, has suggested that the discovery of spear use by chimpanzees probably means that early humans have used the wooden spears something like 5 million years ago. Of the many cave paintings of the Upper Paleolithic, none of them depict people attacking other people. The only rock that depicts violence between hunter-gatherers comes from a very unique sequence of northern Australia that began approximately 10,000 years ago. The Paleolithic era started basically when hominids started to make tools. These tools were used to make their lives easier. Of course, humans living during that era, they were hunters and gatherers. This means that they were hunting animals and gathering plants. Hunting and gathering did not always provide the people with a steady supply of food. Without plants and animals, people were obliged to leave, and they were moving to other places in search for plants and also for game. They lived in temporary shelters such as caves or tents or improvised tents. So they would probably find some materials such as wood, leaves, and even mud itself, and they would probably build some types of shelters. Because they were nomads, they would move around to follow their food resources. Being nomadic made the living hard because people had to share resources together, and so historians say that no more than 60 people at a time were living together because the competition otherwise would have been too much. When did the Paleolithic era start? It is really hard to tell. People say that goes from 2.5 million years ago and 5,000 to 8,000 before Christ. Paleolithic humans made tools and weapons out of wood, bone, and stone. These early hominids intentionally selected raw materials with good flaking qualities, and they would choose appropriate sized stones for their needs. They would need such stones to produce edge weapons, edge-cutting weapons and tools. I am sure that they were using stones in several ways. In fact, there are some people who are debating about lots of things. Prehistoric hominids would use stones, and they would do all sorts of things with stones. They would use stones as tools. They would use stones for cutting wood. They would use stones to start a fire maybe, and they would use stones eventually to fight also. So we have, wood was important as well. In fact, archaeologists found wood spears. Also, the use of the bow was quite common. Of course, the use of the bow improved their hunting skills, and for them, hunting, it became easier. Although in my personal opinion, hunting back then wasn't so hard because the number of animals were undefined. The earth was much more populated than it is now, and so I think, and I personally reckon that there were lots of animals available, although still hunting is not easy, so don't make me wrong. I'm not saying that hunting it's an easy thing, but I'm just saying that I think, in my opinion, that there were more animals to hunt, and so it was somewhat easier than today to find game. If we watch the Flintstones, the cartoon Flintstones, we will find that they were using the club. Club was something that they were using, and actually I have a friend who makes clubs from scratch, and I think I should show it to you next time. I'll try to show it to you because it is really interesting stuff, you know. So another common weapon was the hand axe. The hand axe was very common in prehistoric times. A hand axe is a prehistoric tool with two faces. That is the longest used tool in human history. Well, talking about the materials, it is usually made out of flint or chert. Some people like Dr. Calvin suggested that hand axes were used as killer frisbees. So they were meant to be thrown at herds. In other words, they were meant to be thrown at herds of animals at a water hole as to stun one of them. This assertion was surely inspired by some archaeological findings in Kenya, Africa. In addition, a very cool thing about hand axes is that they can be recycled, renewed, resharpened and remade. I'm sure, like among the many tasks, they must have been used for digging, cutting, scrapping, chopping, piercing and hammering. Why not? It could be therefore misleading to think of them as hand axes only.
Hand axes are so varied that they do not actually have a single common characteristic. Despite the numerous attempts to classify hand axes, some of which date to the beginning of the 20th century, their study does not comply completely satisfactorily to any typological list. The triangular bifaces were initially defined by Henry Breau as flat-based, globular, covered with cortex, with two straight edges that converge at an acute apical zone. Boards later redefined the definition, making it more narrow. For both, a triangular biface is a piece of developed working and balanced morphology. They are flat pieces linear, with three rectilinear or slightly convex edges. Amygdaloidal. They are the most common biface in this group, defined by their almond shape, symmetrical tendency and metric indices common to this category. Apart from their shape, which gives them their name, Latin for almond, they are bifaces of regular length. Cordiform. A cordiform biface is identical to the amygdaloidal when seen from the front, as it shares the same index values. When seen from the side, it appears to be a flat biface. Occasionally, although this is not defining, they are worked with greater skill, better finished with less cortex and greater balance. Lanceate. Lanceate bifaces are the most aesthetically pleasing and became the typical image of developed Aukelon bifaces. Their name is due to their similar shape to the blade of a lance. It was coined by the Perth lance axe. Both defined a lanceate biface as elongated, convex edges, acute apex, and round base. Micoquian. The Micoquian biface receives its name from the French cave La Micoque in the community of Dordogne, which also gave its name to a period at the end of the Auquelian, the Micoquian. This period is characterized by the technological development. It is thought that the Micoquian was not a separate culture from the Auquelian. Discoid. Discoid bifaces are entirely circular or oval in shape and are characterized by a base rounding index of greater than 3.75 and an elongation index of less than 1.3. They are rounded both at their base as well as their terminal zone. Ovoid. Ovoid bifaces are roughly oval, a kind of curve whose description is slightly ambiguous, but which is more or less egg-shaped. The Perth published a definition in 1857 that is little change. Horns stated that ovoid bifaces are similar to discoids but more elongated. elliptical. Elliptical bifaces are also known as flondeurs. They have three axes of symmetry: bilateral, bifacial, and horizontal. If the base is short, they are virtually identical at the terminal end, complicating identifying top from bottom. In practice, their dimensional ratios are equal to the ovoid tools, except that the elliptical bifaces are usually more elongated.
I personally didn't know that there were so many different types of hand axes, but that's really interesting. I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, if you feel sad, you better call Sal. Bye bye.